Hey you all, it's your girl Ashley. How many of you have watched The Devil Wears Prada? Ladies, we all have. But we're going to have a conversation that you've never heard about The Devil Wears Prada. So get your drink, get your smoke, whatever you need, and we're going to jump right in. Now, I've watched The Devil Wears Prada, but this movie hit a little differently recently, okay? So, Andy, main character, we're following Andy throughout this conversation. Andy, insecure woman, hmm definitely lacked confidence. She didn't really care about how she presented herself to the world, okay? She was in a relationship with a man who did not care about how he presented himself to the world either. He also looked better than Andy at this point in her life, and he knew that she was insecure. Narcissist, okay? That's what he was. So, Andy goes on this interview with this really large magazine, okay? Fashion magazine, Runway. So, she meets with the redhead girl. I don't really know her name, but we'll call her Emily because, we know. Okay. So, Emily, when Andy gets there for this interview with Miranda, Emily was snotty to Andy. Okay? She was snotty to her, made fun of the way that she dressed, and Andy took it. She didn't say a thing. She laughed it off, or she just dissolved. Okay? Andy went in the interview and met with Miranda, fierce, confident woman. And Miranda ate Andy up in that interview. There was a point when Andy was actually speaking, trying to prove herself to Miranda that she could do the job. And we all know that Andy wanted to be a journalist, but she got placed for an assistant for a very high fashion company, okay? So Miranda, top tier woman in the game, tells Andy that's all. In the middle of Andy speaking, trying to prove herself to Miranda, Andy turns around. First, Andy was like, to herself, like, rude. She didn't say anything, but she turned around and she left. And before she walked out the room, she turned back around to Miranda, and she basically told Miranda, like, you know what, no, I'm not a size 6. I'm not, the woman in the high heels, and I'm not, I don't look the part, but, I can do the job, and I'm a great trainer, and, I'm a great learner, and blah, 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 blah. And Miranda she took off her glasses, and she just looked at Andy, just eyed her. And in the middle of Andy speaking, Miranda's, like, a worker, like, he kind of comes in and he starts talking, and Miranda was still eyeing Andy, even though Andy stopped speaking when the guy came in, okay? And when the man came in, he actually insulted Andy to Miranda and said, "Are you doing a photo shoot, like a remake of someone, and I don't know about it?" Because of the way that Andy presented herself. Miranda still was giving Andy her attention no matter what was coming in, but Andy stopped speaking. Miranda finally turned away, and she didn't even acknowledge the man's question, and Andy walked away. And before she left, she actually said to Miranda, "Thank you for your time." Because if you understand as well, time is currency. And Miranda looked up when Andy said that, okay? Even though the man was standing there talking to her about, whatever they were doing with their job and things like that, Miranda still looked up at Andy when she said, "Thank you for your time." When Andy probably got in the elevator and she was walking downstairs, she probably was in her head like, "Oh my gosh, I'm glad I told them off, kind of, in a sense, but I didn't really do that, so I don't know, we'll just see how it goes," but that's probably how she was feeling. They didn't show that. The next part you see, Andy walking through the lobby before she left that building. Emily, the hater, was coming downstairs to let Andy know, "Babe, you got that job." And Emily couldn't even believe that Andy got the job. Okay? So we're going to keep on talking, but when I tell y'all that we are talking about The Devil Wears Prada on another level, Andy gets the job. So Andy, she goes home that night, and we're not going to go for like scene for scene, but Andy goes home that night, and she tells her boyfriend and her friend group that she got the job at Runway, at this like big modeling company. And everyone who was in that circle with Andy, except for one man in particular, not Andy's boyfriend, they all were haters. Okay? They were talking about the models and working in like that, just that whole world. Okay? They were talking very negative about it, and Andy was like, "You know what, I'm just gonna write it out. I want to be a journalist, and you know what, I'm gonna do this. This could probably open up doors for me." And they all were still talking bad. Ladies, I recently learned that you should keep your job, your career life private, even from your partner, unless you're like married, I would say. But I don't even feel like that's something that you should tell unless you are strong enough to stand into your power, because a lot of people do things like what they were doing to Andy in this circle, okay? People will actually use you for your resources without even liking you as well, because there were times in the movie, and I don't want to jump like all over, but there were times in the movie where this same group of, like the same circle of friends around Andy, they would always talk bad about her job even as she was elevating, but they would accept the gifts from her working at said job that they claim they did not like. The bags, the access to shows and things like that. I don't think they really showed that much, but you understand what I mean. But they were very, very accepting of all the free things that she was getting for them. Free, okay? Do you understand? Free. Because people love to reap your benefits without them doing any work, okay? Men as well. Andy is working at Runway. She's at this job and she's kind of having a little hard time. There's a point where Andy feels like, "You know what? I'm just not cut out for this. Like, what? No matter what I'm doing, Miranda's not happy with me." And Andy went to Miranda's very close business friend, and he basically tells Andy, like, "Girl, what you want me to do? You want me to pat you on your back and wipe your tears for you and do all of that? No." Miranda is doing her job. If you think she's being a bitch, and she's not, but there are plenty, millions of girls who would kill for your job, and you're barely trying. Barely. So, Andy took what was being given to her, those words, because you came for words of advice, and she got a thought in her head, and she said, "You know what?" To herself, what can I do to fit in here? One of the first things that Andy needed to do to fit in there was get a makeover. Why? She had to play the part. And in order to play the part, she had to show up and be the part. Alright, so Andy gets her makeover and she's wearing like straight runway clothes. Like there's a part in the movie where it just shows Andy in multiple badass outfits, okay? When Andy started wearing the outfits that were like off of runway, her life started to change, okay? She wasn't dropping, coffee on her shirt anymore. She wasn't bumping into things. Um, Work was going better for her. Emily was low-key always hating on her. There was actually a part, I love Giselle. Giselle played Emily's friend. And when Giselle first came in and she saw Andy, of course, they looked at her and they were like, oh, gosh, like, what's she doing here as an assistant? There was a part in the movie where Andy comes in. She has on the new Chanel off the runway. And she comes in, gets the phone, she do her job, like, slaying it, okay? Emily and Giselle are sitting across from her. And Emily's like, is that the new Chanel that you got on? Now, throughout the whole entire movie, Emily wanted to have, like, all of that clothes. Like, Emily wanted to be that girl that Andy had turned into. That part when Andy came in and they were like, oh, you got the new Chanel on? Giselle told Andy that she looked good, okay? And what did Emily do? She got an attitude. And Giselle was like, what? She does. Ladies, watch out for those kinds of Emilys, okay? Watch out for them. But Andy kept being nice to Emily, even though Emily showed her she was an enemy already, okay? And shout out to Saint Siren for pointing out the enemy essence to me, okay? Because people will show you that they're an enemy right away, and you need to treat them as such, okay? And yes, you got frenemies, but you gotta really, 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 really know how to do that, okay? And I am mastering that right now. Andy didn't have boundaries in her life at all. And she was a people pleaser, and she kept trying to, like, she allowed people to be rude to her, and she kind of tried to prove herself, but they would still, like, always be mean to her, and then she would, like, be nice to them. Her man. Um, there was a point in the movie where Andy was, like, she was doing really well. And there was a point in the movie, there was a scene where Andy basically was kind of basically trying to prove herself again to this man that she was with. And he says to her, she's basically like, I'm still the same woman, like I still have the same goals and things like that, but the only thing that's changed is like I'm basically more comfortable with who I am, and I'm caring about how I'm presenting myself to the world. That's not what she said, but she said to him, like, basically, the only thing I changed was my clothes. And this man said to her, I don't like your new clothes. I like the old clothes better. You mother effer. Like, what do you mean that you don't like my new clothes? I don't give a goddamn if you didn't. But Annie didn't do that. She should have broken up with him right at that point. Okay? Because how dare you tell me that you don't like that I'm elevating myself? Hater. Narcissist. He wanted her to be lower. He loved when she was lower. But not enough that he wanted to marry her. Ladies, pay attention. And she started undressing herself. She said, oh, you don't like my clothes? Like, he even turned his back to her. Rude. She started undressing. She said, I guess you don't like those? She had a nice, lacy bra underneath. Probably some Chanel. And he wanted her. But she shouldn't have gave him none. I would have said, you don't like this? And as soon as he would have came to me, no, you don't deserve this. Because you said you don't like my new clothes. That's what she should have did. But, of course, again, they romanticized it in the movie, but ladies, pay attention to things like that, okay? Because they weren't together in the end. And I didn't see part two. I don't even know if it came out yet, but I didn't see part two, but I don't think he's in part two. Not as her man. No, he's not. And he starts elevating again. And she attracts another man who is on the level of where Andy is pushing herself at that point, okay? She's walking around looking like one of the runway models. She even went down from a size 6 to a size 4, okay? Which was important in the movie, if you remember. So she attracts this other guy. He's handsome, has he's top tier, okay? And he would marry. He would marry. Some women out there would be like, oh, he would be a player. Nope, ladies, he wouldn't be. Not all men cheat. All men cheat. However, men like the cat and mouse game. So if you can continue to keep your relationship, even when you get engaged and married at cat and mouse, ladies, you'll be great. Okay? Because Andy could have gotten him, but she didn't know her power all the way with him to fully control him. Okay? And yes, that's what I said, because I know some of you men be watching, and I'm telling the truth. So, Andy attracted this other guy. And there was a point in the movie where Andy's friend, she had a black female friend who, let's face it, Andy's friend, the black girl, I don't remember her name, the black woman, she was okay. She was very average, but she was nothing to brag about. Okay? Not like doesn't really do the makeup, and like you don't even have to do the makeup, but just kind of just you should be putting on some makeup, ladies. There's a competition out here. Okay, you should be putting on makeup and presenting yourself as the best all times. Okay, it is what it is. So there was a part where this man showed up to Andy's friend's like art gallery. Okay, and he flirted with Andy, and her hating friend was on the sidelines watching Andy. Okay? That's what she was doing. She was watching her. And when Andy looked up, her friend was like, oh. And Andy went and chased her. Chasing her. And was like, oh, that wasn't what you thought it was. And her friend was like, the Andy that I know, da 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 da, wouldn't do that to her man, and blah 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 blah. And I like, first of all, the things I would have like really told her, because I'd have been like, my man, the man who doesn't like my job, it isn't like the woman that I'm becoming. Okay? But again, protect your energy. The friend even called Andy a glamazon. She said, I don't know. She said, I don't know who you are. You're becoming one of these women that like you work with, and then I see you around the corner with some man and you're flirting with him. So what? But that's hater energy, because Andy looked good. And you understand that beauty is currency. Yes, you do. Energy is currency. Time is currency. That man was able to put Andy into better places that her man could not. Because when Andy was having a hard time with Miranda, she wasn't even having a hard time with Miranda. There was another part in the movie that Andy was, still elevating, but she had a little mishap where she didn't follow the rules. and she went into Miranda's house more access than what she was supposed to be, more access than what she was technically allowed. And Miranda didn't fire her. She gave her a harder task and said, since you feel like you got access, since you can't follow rules, I'm going to give you a harder task. And she told Andy to get the unpublished manuscript of Harry Potter, okay? And Andy was feeling defeated. Defeated. She called her man and said, I'm about to quit my job, and da-da-da-da-da, and he was happy. He was happy. He went and spent his little last couple of dollars because she was happy that she quit that job that was actually putting her in a better place for where she actually wanted to be in life. She called, she got the bus pass. The bus passed her, and it said the New Yorker. And she called that man because he was another like journalist or whatever, the one who was trying to hit on her. She called him. He got her the manuscripts. Andy went home, and I don't know if I like jumped off key because I feel like I was talking about something else before that, but Andy got those manuscripts. Okay? Oh yeah, I remember. It got me thought back. She got those manuscripts. And going back to the friend, women, there's nothing wrong with someone flirting with you. Like, I know for a fact that there are married couples out there that understand that people will still flirt with your significant other. They might flirt with you as a couple. And if you are smart, baby, you know to snatch that energy and you spice up your relationship. That's what you do. Andy's friend was a hater. A single black woman, because she was, calling it for what it was. She was a single black woman, and she was hating on Andy. And it has nothing to do with, like, the race thing, but I'm literally calling it for what she was, okay? She was angry, single black woman. And we all know that term. Andy elevated. She elevated. And she showed Miranda, too, that, girl, I could do this job. Andy wind up getting offered. We'll take it back. Emily got sick. Not a coincidence. I feel like Emily got sick when she was trying to play on her Andy's head top the entire time. And Andy kept just being nice to her, being nice to her, being nice to her. And the one thing that Emily wanted was to go to Paris Fashion Week and get all the clothes. That's what she wanted. Who got that opportunity? Andy. Yes, she did. And then when Miranda told Andy that she was offered the opportunity, Andy felt so bad and all of this. And when she got the opportunity, and when she finally decided to take the opportunity, Miranda told her, okay, now you're going to have to tell Emily that you're taking her spot. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, that was so mean of Miranda to do. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Because see, when you're in this game, you play dirty, you're going to, you also have to be brave for the things that you do, okay? Miranda knew deep down inside that Andy wanted that life. Hence why we have part 2. Andy has to tell Emily, hey, I'm going to take that position, that spot that you wanted for Paris. Andy doesn't really want to tell Emily, okay? Even though she should have, she was deserving of going, Andy, and Emily was deserving to know that I'm taking that spot. However, Andy wasn't ready for, she wasn't ready to release that energy, that negative, not a negative, but she wasn't ready to release that fiery energy yet. So she did not want to tell Emily that she was going to take this spot. She called Emily anyway, and she was hesitant, and Andy didn't have to tell her because Emily got hit by a car. Who went to go see Emily? As of who we know, Andy. Okay? And it seemed like to me, Emily lived a pretty lonely life. Okay? Andy went to go see Emily while she was in the hospital, all crutched up and banged up and everything. And Emily was yelling at Andy, telling her she didn't deserve to go to Paris and blah, 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 blah. A humbling tactic. Beware. Because that's what that is. Why does Emily feel like she can tell Andy that she's not deserving of something that she literally was offered to do? Emily was only going to get it by default. She was not offered to go. But she wanted that spot, so she thought she would try to humble Andy and let her know she didn't deserve. So we do know that at the end of the movie that Andy wind up leaving Runway. However, there's a part two, okay? And in the preview, Andy is getting in the elevator with Miranda, okay? I hope that this video gave you knowledge on how to navigate your life and to definitely put boundaries with people, places, and things in your life. Live your life with no restrictions. Be who Andy was becoming, okay? And go after what you want because that's what she was choosing to do. And you may have to leave some people behind, and you may even leave your old self behind. But the new things that you are walking into, the new you that you are walking into, is definitely and will always outweigh that old negativity. All right, I gotta go. Later, y'all.